Before we get into today's chat, quick one. If you're not 100% sure how your HR is really holding up, take our free HR health check. It's short, jargon-free, and gives you a clear score on what's working and what needs a bit of love. And if you do it before 1st April 2026, you'll get a bonus 7-pillar strategy on a page, tailored to help you manage HR brilliantly for the year ahead. Just head to kateunderwoodhr.co.uk/HR-health-check or check the link in the show notes. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. Your payroll has just gone out reflecting the new national living wage rate of £12.71 per hour. Your newest team member, been with you 3 months, has just had a pay rise as a result. Completely correct. Fully compliant. Well done you. Meanwhile, Sarah, who has been with you for 4 years. Sarah, who trained 2 people last year, who covered the Christmas period without a single moan, who knows your systems better than you do. Sarah's hourly rate is, let me think, about 40 pence an hour more than that new starter. Sarah hasn't said anything yet, but she's noticed, and when Sarah notices, Sarah starts doing the maths. And when Sarah starts doing the maths, Sarah starts looking at job boards. And before you know it, you've done everything legally right, and you're about to lose one of your best people anyway. That is wage compression. And it is one of the most common and most avoidable retention problems I see in small businesses, especially right after a minimum wage uplift. Welcome to the Hive. Hey there, welcome back to Buzzing About HR, the podcast for small business owners and HR professionals who want practical, plain English advice without the legal waffle. I'm Kate, your host, HR Queen Bee and self-confessed employment law geek, joined as always by Hazel, our resident wellbeing officer, who is currently asleep under my desk and absolutely no help whatsoever. And today we are diving into a topic that I have been absolutely itching to cover ever since April's national living wage increase landed. Because if you haven't already felt the ripple effects of this one in your business, I promise you, you will. We are talking about wage compression. What it is, why it quietly destroys morale before anyone says a word out loud, and, most importantly, what you can actually do about it. Before we dive in, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has been leaving reviews and sharing the podcast. It genuinely means the world to me, and it helps more brilliant business owners find the show. So, if you've not left a review yet, go on, you can do it right now. I'll wait. Right, kettle on, let's get into it. The buzz, what is wage compression? So, let's talk about what wage compression actually is, because I think the name sounds more complicated than it is. Wage compression happens when the pay gap between entry-level staff and more experienced, longer-serving employees shrinks, or, in some cases, practically disappears. It usually happens gradually. A new starter joins at the legal minimum. The minimum goes up. Your experienced staff don't get a proportional lift. And suddenly, the difference in pay between someone who walked through the door 3 months ago and someone who's been with you for 3 years is almost nothing. It's not intentional. It's not malicious. Most of the time, it happens because business owners are focused on staying compliant with the minimum wage, which is absolutely the right thing to focus on, and the wider pay structure just doesn't get the same attention. But here's the thing, your people notice. Not always immediately, but they talk to each other, they compare. And when someone who has given you years of loyalty and expertise realises they're being paid almost the same as the person who started last month, that lands like a very disappointing slice of cake. Technically still cake. But you were expecting something better, and the impact goes beyond pay. It sends a message, even if you never intended it, that experience doesn't really count for much here. That loyalty isn't rewarded. That turning up, doing a good job, and staying isn't worth the difference. That is a culture problem, and culture problems are expensive. The Hive check, the numbers. Right, let's just quickly anchor this to where we are right now, because this is a very timely topic. From April 2026, the national living wage for workers aged 21 and over is £12.71 per hour. That's an increase from last year's rate, and it's not a small jump for a lot of small businesses. Now, and this is important, your legal obligation is to make sure nobody falls below that rate. That is the floor, not the ceiling, the floor. And if you had staff on or near the old rate, they should already be at £12.71 or above. If they're not, stop this podcast, sort payroll, and come back to me. I'll be here. I've actually got a full blog post on all the statutory pay rates for 2026/27, SSP, SMP, redundancy caps, the lot, in plain English, no jargon. I'll link that in the show notes. It's a useful bookmark, especially around payroll week. But once you've got your compliance sorted, the question isn't, are we paying the minimum? The question is, what has this done to the rest of our pay structure? And that is the question most businesses aren't asking. The sting, why this is a retention and culture problem. I want to spend a bit of time here because this is where the real damage happens, and it happens quietly. First, it erodes the perceived value of experience. If your pay structure doesn't reflect the difference between someone who's been with you 3 months and someone who's been with you 3 years, you're telling your experienced staff, without using any words at all, that their experience has no additional value to you. That is a very hard thing to come back from once someone has clocked it. Second, it creates resentment between colleagues. People talk. Whether you have a pay transparency policy or not, people talk. A new starter mentions their rate in passing. An experienced employee does the mental arithmetic. Now, you've got a morale problem in a team that was otherwise getting on brilliantly. Not because anyone did anything wrong, because the pay structure didn't keep up. Third, your best people leave first. Here's the uncomfortable truth about this kind of quiet resentment. It's your best people who leave first. The ones with options, the ones other employers would snap up. You're Sarah. They don't always make a noise about it. They just quietly update their CV and start saying yes to LinkedIn messages. And fourth, recruitment costs more than a pay review. I say this a lot because it is genuinely true and genuinely underestimated. The cost of recruiting and onboarding a replacement, the time, the adverts, the interviews, the training, the months before someone is fully up to speed, almost always exceeds what it would have cost to review and adjust the pay of the person who left. Prevention is so much cheaper than cure. Always. The waggle dance, the practical bit. Right, this is my favourite part. Let's actually talk about what you can do about this, because the good news is it is fixable. It just needs a bit of structured thinking and some honest conversations. Here's a simple 5-step approach to reviewing your pay structure after a minimum wage change. Step 1. Map out what you're actually paying. Before you can fix anything, you need to see it clearly. Pull a list of every employee, their role, their hourly rate or salary, and how long they've been with you. Don't filter it. Don't tidy it up. Just look at the raw picture. What you're looking for is the gap, or lack of gap, between your lowest and highest paid people doing similar roles. If that gap has shrunk significantly since the last minimum wage increase, you've likely got compression happening. Step 2. Identify your pay bands, even if you don't have formal ones yet. Pay bands don't need to be complicated. Think of them as brackets: entry level, developing, established, senior. Even in a small team of 10 or 15 people, having a rough sense of where people sit and what range those brackets cover gives you a framework to work within. If you don't have bands at all, now is actually a good time to build them. Not because you need a corporate pay structure with 17 levels and a points-based matrix. Just a simple, clear framework that makes sense for your business and that you can explain to your team. Step 3. Work out who has been compressed. Once you can see your pay map clearly, identify the specific people whose pay has been compressed. These are usually your mid-tenure employees, people who've been with you 2 to 5 years, who haven't had a meaningful pay review in a while. Their pay hasn't gone down, but the floor has come up and the gap has narrowed. Make a note of each person, what they earn now, what the gap to entry level is, and whether that gap reflects the difference in their experience and contribution. In most cases, it won't. Step 4. Build a realistic plan to address it. I am not going to sit here and tell you to give everyone a pay rise immediately. I know that's not always possible, especially for smaller businesses, absorbing the minimum wage increase at the same time. But I am going to tell you to have a plan, a real one, not a we'll look at it later one. That plan might look like addressing the most compressed roles now and committing to a full review at the next pay cycle. Or it might mean moving someone up by a small amount now with a written commitment to review again in 6 months. What matters is that you have something tangible, something you can look someone in the eye and say, vague reassurance is not a retention strategy. A clear commitment in writing is. Step 5, and this is the one most people skip. Communicate proactively before they ask. Don't wait for Sarah to come to you and ask why the new starter is on nearly the same rate. Have the conversation first. Acknowledge it. Explain what you're doing about it. You don't need to share everyone's pay details, but you can absolutely say the NLW increase has affected how our pay structure looks. I'm aware of it, and here's what we're doing. That kind of transparency, even when the answer isn't perfect yet, builds far more trust than silence does. People are remarkably understanding when they feel seen and heard. What they're not forgiving of is finding out you knew and said nothing. The Swarm, Mythbuster Parade. You knew this was coming. A quick whip through the things I hear most often on this topic and why they're not quite right. Myth 1. We don't need to do anything. The pay rise was just the minimum wage. Yeah, you met your legal obligation. Brilliant. But your legal obligation is the floor, not the strategy, not the retention plan. Compliance keeps you out of trouble. A thoughtful pay structure keeps your people. Myth 2. Our staff don't really compare salaries. Oh, they absolutely do. Even when they say they don't. Even when you have a clause in your contract asking them not to, which, by the way, is unenforceable under the Equality Act. People talk. Plan accordingly. Myth 3. A pay review will open a can of worms. Not doing a pay review is the can of worms. The difficult conversations you're trying to avoid by not looking. Those conversations happen anyway. They just happen without you. Over WhatsApp, at home, or in an exit interview. I know which version I'd rather be part of. Myth 4. We can't afford to address this right now. I hear this one a lot, and I understand it. But the cost of a pay review and modest adjustments is almost always less than the cost of replacing the people who leave because of it. Work out the numbers before you decide you can't afford it. You might be surprised. The honeycomb, your quick action list. As always, here's your practical takeaway list. Screenshot this, scribble it down, send it to yourself. 1. Pull your current pay data and map it out. Role, rate, tenure. 2. Calculate the gap between your entry-level rate and your mid-tenure staff. 3. Identify who has been compressed since the April wage increase. 4. Check you're above £12.71 for every eligible worker, non-negotiable. 5. Build a simple pay band framework if you don't have one. 6. Create a written plan to address compression, even if it's phased. 7. Have proactive conversations with affected staff before they come to you. 8. Review again every April, not just when the minimum wage goes up. And if you want to geek out on all the 2026/27 statutory pay rates, NLW, SSP, SMP, redundancy caps, the full lot, I've got a plain English cheat sheet on the blog. Link is in the show notes, worth bookmarking for payroll week, every April. Flying the hive. Right, before I let you go, a quick pep talk. Because I know some of you are listening to this and feeling a bit like you've just found a thing you didn't know needed fixing and now you have to deal with it. Here's the thing. Wage compression is not a sign that you're a bad employer. It's a sign that you've been doing the right thing, staying compliant, paying the legal minimum, and the structural review hasn't kept pace. That is incredibly common, and it is absolutely fixable. The employers who lose good people over this aren't the ones who had wage compression. They're the ones who spotted it and did nothing. You're listening to this podcast. You're already doing better than that. So pull the data, have the conversations, make the plan. Your Sarah is worth it. If this episode has been useful, please do share it with another business owner who might be in the same boat. And if you want to talk through your pay structure or anything else HR related, you can find me at kateunderwoodhr.co.uk or drop me a message at buzz@kateunderwoodhr.co.uk. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you haven't left a review yet, it takes about 30 seconds and it means more to me than you know. Possibly more than cake. Almost definitely more than a Tuesday morning with no biscuits. Until next time, keep buzzing and take care of your people. Kettle on, standards up. That's it for today. But if you fancy a bit of friendly HR advice in your inbox with zero waffle, come and join our newsletter. We send out bite-sized tips, plain English updates, and handy things you'll actually use. No spam, no fluff. You can sign up at kateunderwoodhr.co.uk/newsletter-sign up or just hit the link in the show